Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about some more tips and tricks in Total War Warhammer 3, as well as various campaign traps to avoid falling into. This time around with Malakai McCason. I went over Belagar, but Malakai has plenty of traps that he can fall into during the course of his campaign. The first one is actually in Krakatrak. It starts with the gem mine. You don't need that. And the reason you don't need that is you may want to vary your recruitment quite a bit. Or you may just want to get Tinkers in, but you may also benefit from having a Runesmith. So go get it. That would be my perspective on this. Or start getting the Runesmith very quickly. Abandon this particular building. Regardless of what you decide to do and how you decide to do it, it would be worth it to get rid of that gem mine initially. So that is the first trap to fall into Malakai's campaign that you really should avoid. The second one is this one, the Spirit Summonment, the Spirit of Grungni. So what this does is that when you summon the Spirit of Grungni, you get 4 turns of more crew. Now you might think, okay, I should fight this battle over here at the beginning of the campaign. I've certainly done this myself quite a lot of times in many Malakai campaigns, and I've spent hundreds of hours playing this dwarf bastard. But what I've come to realize is that doing so is just honestly a waste of resources, because what you really want as Malakai, you don't want to get to tier 2 or tier 3 as quickly as possible with the Spirit of Grungni. Sure, tier 2, really nice. You get the Dragon Slayer, you start getting Slayer recruitment, so you get the hero. Tier 3, you get the extra hero capacity, all that. So that is really nice, that is really good. Mind you, you can get free heroes with replenishment because you got Felix, you get the Dragon Slayer, and then you get Garangrim, who's a special Dragon Slayer. So that is all really well and good. But the real benefit of the airship is not going to come from tier 2 or 3. It comes more so from things like tier 4, because it increases engineer capacity. It gives you organ guns and gyro bombers quite very significantly. And also you can increase airship crew growth. Like basically, you kind of want to get this airship to as high of a level as possible and have a bunch of surplus points. And so instead of using the Spirit of Grungni very quickly, just delay that. How much do you want to delay it? Well, that depends on you. That depends on your personal choices. I would certainly argue that using the Spirit of Grungni on this Nurgle faction, which you, by the way, cannot resolve on any difficulty. This is a legendary, very hard neutral AI stats modifier, but no AR mods or anything like that. I would certainly argue that in this specific campaign, yeah, get the Heavy Cornerstone, start getting High King Authority, start ultimately go for Construction Guilds and Grand Throne Chamber in this campaign. But I'd certainly argue, get this to tier 2, get 2 surplus points or 3 surplus points so you can afford cargo racks, and just when you're about to build cargo racks, that's kind of the ideal moment where you would want to get the Spirit of Grungni. So the Gem Mine and the Spirit of Grungni, those are 2 traps. The third trap, and arguably the most significant one, keep in mind, having variety of units or even heroes, like you can just throw away the Gem Mine Shaft, and instead of, getting different types of unit recruitment, you can just get the Clan Barracks and get the Fane. So there's all kinds of choices that are available over here. But you don't need the money. In fact, I would recommend not recruiting anything in a campaign as Malakai over here on turn 1. I mean, you could start recruiting Dwarf Warriors, but honestly, you will have the Spirit of Grungni higher level. You will get this Barracks to higher level. You have limited recruitment slots, but you can always use global recruitment. You will, again, have the money. None of the factions around you are going to attack you instantly. But that's the trap. Because that's the third trap. See, just using Toggle Flag of War. And what I'd recommend you do here is you declare war on the Drizzian Enclave through fraud. Just use some of these tactics. Diplomacy is part of the game, to be sure. Again, you don't even need this money. This is more so the benefit here, actually. Like, seriously, no joke. The actual benefit here, though, of course, getting trade agreement with Katarin, all that kind of stuff, going to the challenges corner, is when you do this, you're lowering the chance that AI will attack you quickly. And why is this very significant? Well, the reason this is all very significant is because what you really want to do is sneak up and take help pits. See, the worst decision the biggest challenge in this campaign is not Arbol or Archeon or Azazel or Trog. Trog will certainly tend to stacks against you, but once you defeat those armies, you don't need to take his province ASAP. Defeat those 2 armies, it will take him quite a while to recover. But here's the thing, it's Fraught. And the problem with Fraught, he can ambush you, he can be really good at ambushing you, and he can spam units that hard counter you, be it artillery, warp grinders, monsters, whatever. Like, he is the genuine threat here. But you can have either a very easy time or a hard time with him. See, the natural path in this campaign is, okay, I take the Lord Troll King, then I take Fort Strogov, then Fort Ostrog, then I go and help it. Or I take Fort Strogov, then try and go help it. That's the worst decision you can make. Because Help It has a very strong garrison. The more time you give Help It to build up, the higher tier it will be, the better the unit recruitment for Fraught. So what you really want to do is your first strike on Fraught should be to take Help It itself. Eliminates his recruitment, global recruitment of those units, local recruitment in the province. And if you take the 2 settlements that he has over there, that he'll certainly take from the Drazina Enclave, he will just build 3-4 stacks around Help It. On legendary difficulty, you can avoid it. So that is one of the biggest traps to avoid. Another trap is that you go after Azazel as opposed and ignore the issue of Trog. So I would say go after Help It, beat back Trog to a certain degree or another. Once you do take the Nurgle faction out, there's likely going to be an event happening over here that may see you declare war on, I don't know, Help It or the Brotherhood of the Bear or Azazel or whatever. It is randomized. But when you're at peace, when you're not at war, you do tend to get that kind of event. It does happen especially early in a campaign. If it is with Skaven, like you get the choice, declaration of war and a lot of grudges on a target, or grudges build on a target, but you don't go to war. If it is Help It, don't go to war. Your first strike ought to be Help It. If you don't hit Help It the first one, what he's going to do, most likely, is he's going to use the Underway, hit the lair of the Troll King while you're dealing with the situation here. He's going to underway an army to the lair of the Troll King and make your life more difficult. There's no reason for that. Another thing to be talked about is his adventures. The one adventure I would strongly recommend you go for, like you might think, oh, gyrocopters are really strong. Yeah, but you can recruit them fairly easily. You don't need to go for the gyrocopter adventure. Besides, you can access that fairly easily after that. But the real benefit here is growth. And that means going for cannons. Now for the cannons themselves, you do get a bunch of free cannons, which themselves are pretty strong. And especially when you're dealing with Help It, it's pretty useful to have them. Like sieges are pretty crap, garbage tier gameplay. Those cannons make them trivial. You knock down the walls, yeah, you get clan rats spawned on you, whatever. But there is a Dwarven refugee event that spawns roughly here. And you should offer shelter. You shouldn't make them units. Because you can make them either units, or you can offer them shelter. You can either get the construction cost or growth benefit. I'd go with the construction with the growth benefit in that situation. Because it is a decent amount of growth, and it does allow you to get Krokadrak and all the settlements over here. Another trap is building a barracks in the lair of the Troll King. I'd recommend building a barracks over here in the port. Yes, you will need to get the port to a higher level, but the reason is Arbol may come from the east, but Trog is going to certainly come from the west. And he's not going to go for the port, he's going to go for the lair of the Troll King or Krokadrak. Protection. Protection through geography. That is the key here. Those are just a couple of tips with Malakai, just some tricks, tips, and traps to avoid falling into. So yeah, don't use the Spirit of Grungni instantly. Don't leave Help It for last. Don't ignore Trog. And get rid of the gem mine initially in your campaign. Because there's other benefits you want from recruitment structures. I would not say this in other Dwarven campaigns, but Malakai's campaign situation, it can go either really well or it can go really badly. There is no in between here. Next up, we have Tsarina, Katarin of Kislev, which apparently, according to Creative Assembly themselves, is one of the most popular campaigns in the game, or Kislev is. Anyway, what you want to do in Kislev City itself, you want to get the Tallow Keeper's Guild, you want to get the Tribal Encampment. Yes, you do want that sweet, sweet, sweet growth, and it is a mistake to get any kind of other building. The economy building doesn't generate enough early on, ever, in a Kislev City. I mean, eventually you want to get it when you have building slots. Then you want to take your initial settlement over here of Savastra and then sell it to the Drazina Enclave. You want to guarantee that confederation. You do not want a defensive alliance. That is the one mistake you shouldn't make. start getting cold storage over here. You want Troll Country Pathfinder for that kind of movement range. And then invoke Urson before you fight a battle, because Urson does give you an army ability that is especially useful because it slows down enemy speed and also lowers the leadership. Now, this is important because one of the things the AI stats modifier does add is leadership. So being able to reduce leadership with this is useful. And obviously if you're playing it neutral, it will help to cause the enemy army to rout faster. So now we go fight this battle. I will fight this manually. I'm not going to waste your time with that. I'll waste my own time. But here's the thing. When you're dealing with this specific battle, one of the things I would stress out, you want to kill the enemy lord, you want to chase down the enemy units. You need to ensure Katarin gets level 2 at the end of this battle. If she's not getting level 2, restart the battle. That's all I can say. Or deal with the auto-resolve calculation over here. But that is not great. Yep. Remember when this battle used to be really difficult? But the reason you want to fight this one manually is you can get more devotion from sacrificing captives if you fight this manually and try and pursue as many of them as you can. Over here, 300 out of 400 is not necessarily a bad rate. And there's the rank 2. That is actually the important bit. Make sure you kill the enemy lord, that will help guarantee it. The reason you want to do that is they put Katarin in such a position that she cannot take Vitevo on turn 1 unless she gets Root Marcher. Yeah, that is a lot of fun. This one you can auto-resolve. If you fight that one manually, yes, you'll take some casualties, but don't worry, we got ways around this. And we just occupied this one settlement, and we get another barracks right here. Now, one of the things that's quite crucial in a Kislev campaign that you want to do is use the load save character system. Play more Realms of Chaos campaign. You don't need necessarily the most powerful mages, but I would firmly recommend getting some of them at the very least. Tempest magic, better than frost magic, whatever. And you can also do this with ice witches. The trait that you are looking for over here is growth. It might take a while, let's just put it like this. Keep in mind, these kind of traits do take an extra turn to make active. And now we're going to just recruit some Cossars right here. This is not at all related to SOC, so if you're thinking, oh, you're using SOC stuff, no. No, SOC stuff is completely freaking irrelevant. Now, why did I move her? You might wonder, okay, so she spawned over here, why did I move her over here, right? Well, there is a specific reason behind that. See, there's an army of Norskins right here, and they might view this army as a vulnerability, which I aim to exploit. That is the reason I moved it there. That is exactly right. Because the AI is scripted in a way that they attack vulnerable points. If a settlement doesn't have an army in it, if it just has a basic garrison without the garrison building, they're more likely to attack it. If there's an army outside recruiting, they're more likely to attack it. If there's a settlement building structures, they're more likely to attack it. Basically, the AI wants to hurt you in some way, shape, or form. It may not work over here, for a record. But, you see, 3,000 hours in Total War Warhammer 3 does teach you a bunch of shit. I knew that was going to happen. I've played this campaign many times. Just before I forget, I can actually even summon a second one because I do have... I do have the capability. Keep in mind the movement range over here when you're attaching a hero. So I think I'm going to put this one here. Okay, that should be fine. Because Katarin does have enough movement range to go for a settlement next turn. But you got to be a bit careful when you're attaching heroes because that might cost you movement range. There's a bunch of these smaller things in a campaign that do end up being very important. Like, this is one of the reasons I've played Katarin's campaign a lot, is because one way or another you learn these things. Either you learn them or you get pummeled into the dirt. However, whether or not the Norskins move over here, yeah, they did not. This is where we start talking about the second thing that's kind of worth talking about. One of the traps you can fall into. See, whenever you reload a save, because I did that, right? Because I forgot to get that second ice mage, lots of things happening. But whenever you reload a save, there's a recalculation of faction strength. And because of that recalculation, before I reload the save, it was not considering like, oh, I got the Frost Maiden, all that kind of stuff, right? And ice switches and all that. So because of that specific recalculation, I can manipulate this. You might ask how? Well, declare war on the rock skulls. Go over here, sell Vitevo, because this is one of the things you can do. It is important to minimize casualties in a campaign because of things like this. Right, so here, I think I'll take Fort Jakova first. Okay, so another little trick is that when you force march an army like this, and you transfer it to another, the units are not going to be exhausted. At least as far as I can tell. Now, it says valiant defeat. If I need to explain why a Kislev army would pummel these guys into the dirt after I won a battle on the field where they actually were advancing against me, yeah, you haven't been paying attention, so yeah, I'm just lowering that. I'd rather not spend half a fucking hour in a siege just to prove a point. If some people are too moronic to understand that these kind of points, yeah, that's on them. But anyway, you sell Fort Jakova to her, you get her involved in your little war over there, or I admittedly got lucky right there because Fort Jakova has a barracks. But now I can get a military alliance right here by selling Vitevo. It will not be enough. Ooh, but what would I do? Well, I can get her involved with the rock skulls. Still not enough. What should I do? What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened, because there is an explanation. I took too many casualties.
Bride of the ice.
That doesn't mentally suck, because, and this is the thing I would tell people,
Of ice magic.
that is very, very important. You might think you win a battle, and you might think the casualties are acceptable. But here is a reality you gotta understand. When you do this, it has an impact on your faction strength. So that means that me auto-resolving these two settlement battles did have an impact, which did cost me. I can now confederate them. But imagine the situation, the scenario in which I had not done that. I would have gotten Fort Ostrak as a tier 2 settlement. Just worth pointing out. In fact, here's what I am going to do. I'm just going to go reload the save, the quick save I had before the battle over here, right? Or before then, or yeah, this quick save. I'll load up the autosave mod so I don't have to waste half an hour just going over battles that I know I will win. And I will show you the difference between 20 casualties and 100, 200, however many I took there. Okay, so having reloaded the save with AR mods enabled, we can start seeing some differences over here. I don't need to attack that specific army right there, like at all, in any way, shape, or form. It might, in fact, be incredibly harmful if I do, because I will lose all the movement range right there. So I'm not gonna do it. I mean, I could try my luck, all that kind of stuff, but why bother, right? Instead, because they certainly don't have the combat server, so instead I'm just gonna take both my heroes over here, get Vitevo, get them to declare war on not the Bjorslings, because they're a bit too strong right now for them. So just AR this with mods. Reduce those casualties. Right here. Declare war on those rock skulls. Get some money from Azag. Also, maybe, you know, get the trade agreement with Malakai. Could be useful. Actually, get the trade agreement with Malakai and do something else as well. Declare war on the Magafican, a weak-ass faction that has nothing on offer. So now, we sell Vitevo. Now, they're particularly weak, so you gotta be mindful of what they're willing and what they're not willing to attack. So, okay, in this case, they're not willing to attack over here. Still free. But don't worry, we'll deal with that. By getting the... And there's your trade. There's your confederation.
You are...
And it's a tier 2 settlement. I know. Believe me. I know what you're thinking right now. Oh, but this is just a bunch of cheap tricks costing. Yes. I'm not gonna deny that. It is an obvious fact that it's a bunch of cheap tricks. That's why I hate Kislev right now. On one hand, it's great to play a campaign as Katarin because you do learn a lot of this cheap shit that you can do in a campaign. Like, if I wanted to, I could confederate Prague. That is cheese. I do not consider getting the Drazina Enclave as a confederation a cheese, because I didn't do settlement trading back and forth, back and forth. Another thing I could have done, and that's kind of where the cheese really lies, is not just trading one settlement and then another and then another. That's just region trading, normal region trading. The cheese is when you're trading one settlement with the barracks for another settlement, and then you start doing this back and forth, back and forth. And the reason you want to start doing that is every time you trade a settlement, just to use these guys as an example, every single time you trade the settlement, right, your diplomatic relations get increased by gifting things to factions. Okay, so if we, you know, give them Zavastra and get them to commit to let's say, the Björsling War over there, they won't do so. But every time I do so, that diplomatic relation starts improving. You can see plus 80, right? You know, we give them Vitevo. We can see over there. So plus 80 right now, we give them Vitevo, 120. You start understanding what I'm doing over here. And then this culminates in situations like these where, you know, you can't even get a military alliance with the faction by giving all the stuff you own. Now, this is not enough for a confederation. But because with confederation, you need... right now, my total attitude is -9. The reason you would trade the settlement back and forth is it builds that kind of relationship with the faction. And until you start having 150, and yeah, they won't join my war against Ostermark right there. Until you start having 150 with the faction in terms of positive diplomatic relations, you will have a confederation penalty. So, and on top of that, your relationship with the faction, you can see that my attitude to Prague was negative. It got updated to a more positive one when I got an alliance. If you declare war on a faction, if you get a peace agreement on a faction, if you make a military alliance, it does instantly update the attitude based on what you're seeing over here on the right side, the meter here. It won't go all the way through, but it will update a portion of it. And that is how you confederate pretty much all of Kislev in a single turn if you're playing Katarin. That is the cheese, to be sure. But that does work. Make of it what you will. I know, Kislev sucks. But if this is a campaign a lot of people want to play, they might as well at least understand how these kind of system works. You could ignore Prague, but I want people to understand something that happens if you don't cheese and you don't confederate Prague early on. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Mr. Frat is going to show up over here in Prague and reduce it to a tier 1 settlement. You might say, oh, that's a nice challenge. No, it's not. Kislev does not. Kislev has a full ranged army in sieges. And Kossars are pretty solid against chaff. There is no siege scenario in this entire fucking game against any settlement except maybe Wood Elves. And no, actually, against Wood Elves. and maybe some specific settlement layouts for warriors and cats where Kislev struggles at all in siege. Like, I'm just gonna flat out say that as an objective fact. If you want to spend half a fucking hour for each settlement so you take 0 casualties, which by the way is the most optimal way to play, then go for it. I would rather not do so. I have better things to do in my life. So I would rather cheese prog, get it over with, and play the rest of my campaign. That's your decision though. You may not care for it. Welcome to Warhammer Free. That's just how it works. Or, to be honest, you could probably just install a mod that disables all siege battles in the game and actually have to be forced to fight them manually. That would actually be the most challenging thing. Like, that's the thing, the hilarity of sieges. Because of the way they're designed, if you literally removed every single siege battle, every single minor settlement battle, major settlement battle, if you literally removed all the bonuses in it, and then had to fight those battles, or forget the auto-resolve benefit to settlements, if you literally just removed having to fight them in a walled settlement and had to fight all of them on the field battle, they would actually be much freaking harder. Because it's one thing to have your ranged units just doing a turkey shoot on the enemy on the walls, is a completely different affair when 2 Skaven stacks are charging directly towards you. Just saying. Next up, we have everyone's favorite nuclear rat, and that is, of course, Ikit Claw. Now, you might think, oh, I should go take Tabaro over here in this campaign. Very natural response, very natural perspective. Don't do it. Because it is actually one of the worst choices you can make here. Modded, unmodded, doesn't matter. What you want to do is get a non-aggression pact over here with Belagar, so he leaves you the hell alone for a while. He will not leave you alone completely, but when you do make those kind of non-aggression pacts, it does mean the AI will take longer to attack you. And I think a lot of you know what I'm going to do over here with regards to Skaven Blight. But believe it or not, I have enough food to retake Skaven Blight, but what I really do want here is not to take Skaven Blight as tier 3, or if you want to save up food, you can retake it back as a tier 4 settlement. What you are really after over here is you want to deny Mogr taking the Estalian capital, even if it slows your campaign progress up. Because you see, the Estalians don't stand a chance against Mogr in a frank fight. But what you are after over here is what he will do. He has enough movement range, and he certainly has the army, to overpower this garrison if you don't give this garrison time to build up. So what you're looking after is to give... You're looking to save Estalian. Mission save Estalian. You could win this battle. Maybe. Certainly the field battle. You got nukes and rattling gunners. But what you're after over here is... time. So what we're going to do, we are going to abandon Skaven Blight right here. Now we say, oh, how are you going to take it back? Don't you worry about that. Even if you have to use a nuke against the Tabaro garrison, that's fair enough. You do need to occupy another settlement before you can retake your capital, but that's fine. Again, we're not after the destruction of Estalia. We could take their capital, but that's not the important bit. The important bit, the mission, is screw over Mogr. By doing this, I either end up in a situation where, you know, I take... Like, yeah, it says close defeat. If I try and reclaim Skaven Blight right now, it won't let me do so. Right here, but we can march Ikit Claw over here to Tabaro. This is on mod. I disabled those. That was just a demonstration for Kisa. But by doing so, we take over the settlement, and now we can retake Skaven Blight. We will have to rebuild the landmark, unfortunately, though I don't really care about the tier 1 landmark. But now we can use all the food over here to rebuild Skaven Blight. I do kind of want the tier 3 one, though it is admittedly on the expensive side. Truth be told, though, it's kind of a crappy landmark, I'm not gonna lie. Yes, it generates food, I get that, but it is costly. At the beginning of a campaign, you're more interested in good unit recruitment and other aspects as opposed to, you know, freaking food. So I would recommend getting some of the buildings here with all that we've gathered. And maybe that gives us Thalia the time that it actually freaking needs in this campaign. Maybe. Maybe it doesn't. But we certainly gave them an extra turn. And we dismissed that army. We've gotten ourselves a situation here where Mogr is right here. So he will not just be able to rush the Estalian capital. Let's see how long it takes him. All right, because all of this was done to stop Mogr so that we can actually take this province. Now, they might attack and destroy his Hearthstone right now, or they might suicide against that Hearthstone. And this was just me not fighting a battle in a campaign and doing things in a very different fashion. We can go even further if we want to. Our food generation is... it's not great, suffice to say. It isn't great. But we can work with it. But well, how do we gain money? More money, you might ask. There's various ways to skin a cat, right? We could sell Tabaro over here. We could declare war on the Tyleans right here. It's not a lot of money, but it is some money to work with, right? Then we can get devious plans right here as well. Don't worry, the money will start pouring in once Skaven Blight is fully developed. It's just we won't have it for a while. And so now we see what the Mogr does. I could recruit units with the Ikit Claw. I suspect Mogr will still win against Thalia. That's not my concern. My concern is different. Ideally, you could take Southern Thalia for herself. Like, if I had fought the battle here, I could have done so. And I guess Mogr still won because he's fucking Mogr. Because, yeah, that's just kind of what he does, right? Oh, but don't worry. See, the Stallions will accept Tabaro, right? And now we can just wait for Mr. Mogr right here. And so when he does fucking show up at Tabaro, we can blow him up. Because you see, the annoying thing here, like, yeah, there's many ways, but the important thing is I gave myself the opportunity to deal with the Stallions. Because, like, he will march for the Bibali because it's within reach of the settlement. And I could have taken Margarita, then Nuja, and dealt to Tabaro as well. That is the trick here. That I didn't do so. Honestly, that's, you know, just a decision I made. Not necessarily the best decision. But it does show you how unconventional ways. And I could have possibly abandoned Skaven Blight and actually relied on the Blood Ground over here that Mogr gives you, surprisingly, to prevent Skaven Blight from being taken by Aranessa until I dealt with the Blood Ground. I just kept a Lord over there next to Skaven Blight, so that when I dealt with Mogr, because I could have taken Margarita, just pointing this out, could have taken Margarita, or taken Tabaro, put it as a tier 2, tier 3 settlement. Because of the Blood Ground, no one could have taken Skaven Blight, assuming he does his ritual, and I assume he would have. And no one, and besides, moving in this area over here by land, if you don't have the Underway, is tricky. So there's many little nuances like this in a campaign. You could consider it plain bullshit, to be honest. Some of the stuff I do in these videos is like plain bullshit. Absolutely. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that this is complete rubbish to some extent. Sure as hell, right? But it does work like that sometimes. Next up, we have Vlad von Karstein, or I strongly recommend playing Isabella von Karstein. I do think she has better faction effects, but regardless, that's not really the important thing here in this specific campaign. Here are the things that you want to do. Declare war on Artois, those kind of things, right? But there are so many juicy little details over here in this campaign that can earn you a lot of freaking power. Like, oh, I'll just declare war on Kazrak for a lot of money. What do I care, right? I'm like on the other side of all of this, and it's like, what should I care about any of this, really, realistically, right? You can just get, you know, Res Dead, get all this stuff in this campaign, get a full stack of troops. Matters. You may wonder, and rightly so, you may wonder, why do you push so hard in the early game? Well, you can thank CA's bullshit, idiotic balancing of legendary difficulty in Total War history ever since Shogun 2 for that. See, I'm sure anyone who's played Warhammer 1 knows how hard you can collapse in a campaign in that game if you don't do shit like this. If you don't corner camp, if you don't min-max to this level, if you're playing on legendary. Oh, but I don't care about playing on legendary. Fair enough, that's your choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But even on lower difficulties, the biggest mistakes or the decisions that have the most level of impact here, you know, blood kisses, all that kind of stuff, the decisions that have the most level of impact in your campaign are always going to be the early decisions. Actually, I think I'm going to get rid of that one. Just get maybe some skeletons. It doesn't matter what I'm getting here, really. Because I won't need any of that. In the most serious, genuine way, I don't need any of that. I just need to not get a peace agreement with these guys. And you'll see why. But it is those first few turn decisions that have a very outsized impact on your campaign. It's how the map is designed, how the game is designed, how races work, how auto-resolve works, how AI behavior works. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not defending CA's decision with regards to how all of this does work, but it does function like this. Sadly enough. Ooh, some damage over there. It's kind of weird in terms of auto-resolve. Sometimes you can lose half your freaking army, other times you can just like smash your way through. And you won't know which until, you know, you do things. Anyway. Funnily enough, it's one of those races where you actually do want to get a lot of these things done fast. So we could get some of that. Get the hunger. It's always a nice skill to have. Army skills for vampire counts are always a bit of a questionable decision. The reason I say that is because the power of a vampire count's army sure isn't coming from, it's not coming from the army itself. It's coming from the lords leading the army. But what are we up to over here, you might wonder? Well, see, one of the things about vampire counts and Tomb Kings is that they have vassalization for diplomacy. The reason I went north to deal with that settlement is because that was their army. They no longer have an army, so I could get the peace agreement Tempelhof. But you don't want to do so, because you see, people hate the vampires. And you don't want to make those people angry at you because you made them deal with Tempelhof. You can also vassalize Tempelhof if you want to. But again, you have zero reason to engage in that in a campaign. Instead, this is what you should do. And we'll see this in just a moment. We're marching for Grand Peak, the faction that Ungrim starts a war with. Yeah. Keep in mind, this is all vanilla. No AR mod, nothing like that. We're just gonna get a Vampire Lord. I know, basic Vampire Lord, whatever. I remember how much Mandalore Gaming bitched about this, but regardless. Yeah, we're also gonna get a Vampire right here. It's gonna take a while for an army to build up, so we can take Tempelhof itself. But what we're after is Grand Peak, before Ungrim gets here. Ungrim will get here pretty fast on Legendary. Obviously on lower difficulties, these things do work out differently. You can't predict necessarily how things are gonna work out. Ooh, he's attacking. Okay, buddy. We could get another lord. That didn't necessarily work out the way I intended to, but anyway. What do I want? Casualty replenishment. Yeah, let's get character experience gain. And get her. Well, I may have lured them too successfully in that case, but that's fine. That's perfectly workable, funnily enough. And what we're after is Grand Peak.
My Slayer oath would have
Declare war on the red eye. You may need more strength. But yeah, between the Lamians, repression building, all that.
I am unstoppable.
You don't want to take Grand Peak. Ooh, we lose some men. Big deal. Like, it would literally, vampires, it is no big deal. Because you can easily recover from that. I'm more concerned about the situation right here than anything else. No joke. Oh, I might lose the settlement. Again, not really a concern. You want Undying Horde? Actually, no, I don't want Undying Horde. I got the wrong one. I want Children of the Night. Children of the Night.
Yes, Neferata was right.
Okay, just a bit of magic right there. And now we wait for Lorem. He will arrive, don't you worry. We know what he's gonna do. And you wanna just build a barracks right here in this element. Oh, but it's cheesing to build a barracks and sell it to the AI. Well, that's how the game is balanced right now. Complain to someone else. Probably winnable. Oh no. Oh no.
Who wishes the red kiss?
Unstoppable. You are not welcome, so I won't pretend otherwise.
He won't agree to do it for that. So we need to sell him with a barracks.
Expand Sylvania's borders.
We could also declare war on some other factions as well for more money.
Look at me with them eyes.
Because that is one of the problems you encounter early on over here when you do these kind of unconventional tactics. They do end up working out, but there is always a hell of a price to pay sometimes.
Deliver your missive and then
Red Horn to ripe. Yeah, money.
Now, yours is power I follow.
I thirst.
Okay. By the way, this is a representation of how you can be really lazy and still succeed in your goals. Because I don't care how fast I destroy Tempelhof. In fact, it's probably beneficial if they build up their settlements higher. Because then you can take those settlements higher for yourself. None of this stuff is necessarily relevant for me.
My Slayer oath would have me kill you where
There we
you
go.
stand. Fine.
Boom. The angry dwarf has been unleashed.
King of darkness.
King of darkness.
Yes, my sire.
And what do you, and you continue on. Like, if you can hold Drakenhof and all that, you should be able to hold Drakenhof. Like, considering what is in Drakenhof. But what are we after over here, Costin, you might ask? Well, you see, there is a little settlement over here that might just give us a significant amount of power and give us Wasteland. And we're viable with Wasteland. And we also confederate both Ungrim and Forgrim along the way. Maybe even some of the Chaos Dwarves. Yes, the best strategy for Vlad, contrary to what you might believe, is literally to go rush Zarnagrund. It is the most unorthodox, nonsensical approach to a campaign that you may believe that does exist out there. It is also literally the best decision you can make. I said it's like, it doesn't matter what happens over here in Tempelhof. The reason, by the way, you rush for Grand Peak is because Ungrim can get it before you do. And you don't want, and he values Grand Peak a lot. That's the reason why you can vassalize him. Dwarf artillery, range units, allied recruitment, anyone? Now you can get a peace agreement with these guys, by the way, if you actually are interested in it. Personally, I'd be interested in wiping their their asses off the face of the earth. Or you could go even further early on, you know, be more aggressive, all that. Fun fact, you can recruit a bunch of higher tier units over here and get tons and tons of money from the dwarves through vassal agreements. You gotta love this shit. Pity that there's no global recruitment, but yeah. This is how you make your life easier. You know what happens if you don't do this? Because I will tell you. Azag and Ungrim fight each other, but eventually someone goes after you. But you don't need to fight Azag either. You can go even further. Vassals tend to not break vassalizations. I've certainly rarely seen that happen in my campaigns. I don't know how much you would have to screw up for that to actually happen. But yeah. Make sure there is a barracks here. Make sure the settlement is repaired if you've looted and occupied it or sacked it.
Yes.
And don't make any peace agreement to Tempelhof. That will actually piss off Ungrim. Maybe I should have recruited an army over here in Eschen faster. Could have prevented them from taking it. And then there was Greasus. Greasus' campaign, well, I did this in a separate video, but I'll do it again, because why not? It's fun, it's hilarious, it's ridiculously stupid. The power of money. See, there is nothing quite like the power of money in Greasus' Gold Teeth. The trap is, you might think, oh, I should capture this province naturally, right? Right? That's the thing that I should be doing over here in this campaign, right? That's logical, reasonable, perfectly natural? No. That is the worst, dumbest decision you can make in this campaign. Seriously, it's like literally this entire campaign boils down to, oh, you have enemies in the north. Ignore them. Like, as long as you take, like, you should fight those battles manually, right? All the battles that I'm showing here. Get an extra camp. You can get 3 camps. No problem. You can also get another camp right now. Though I would probably recommend not doing that. See, the ogres have moved from having a lot of camps necessarily early on to a situation where they actually benefit more from focusing on a couple of camps. So finally, the camp system maybe works the way CA intended it to, as opposed to whatever bullshit. But you see, the Cross Club's faction leader is right here. But what's behind them? Let's take a look. Ooh, a camp. And it's not just a tier 1 camp. But we can't reach that. Can we? Can we not reach that? Okay. How about that? So instead of taking the settlement the game wants you to take, you just come over here. You literally auto-resolve this on Legendary. You sack this out. Get the money. From Confederation. Next turn you'll get a peace agreement with everyone that's around you. That's how this campaign works. Although I'd probably recommend getting this to a higher level, switching the camp to camp stands. And now we can start getting, you know, ogre bulls. And what do you do after this point? You don't go north. I emphasize this. You do not fucking go north. And I'll explain, and the explanation will show itself in just a moment. You also get meat. Right here on the camp itself. Just put it on the camp itself. Don't worry about anything else. Not enough, right? Or, great, I'm a complete dumbass. That's on me. But we just want to start getting this camp to a higher level, right? It does mean your meat on Greasus may go down by a bit, but yeah, I just screwed up a bit and I misclicked. Mistakes do happen. Mistakes do happen. Got a trade agreement to this. But, with regards to camp, all you'd really want over here is for it to have 400 food. Everything else is fluff. You just want the tier of the camp to be as high as possible. Okay, what are we gonna do here? Well, we're certainly gonna get rid of that piece of crap Noblar recruitment. We don't need it. And the factions to the north, well, who gives a shit? Really. Although I suppose you could sack this settlement as well for extra money, though. Just makes the early turn more annoying, so what's the point?
Tyrant of the tribe.
Hey, just move. Take your time. You're not in a rush. I'm not joking. You are not in a fucking rush here. Just recruit stuff. Have your time. Have a cup of tea.
Why would I dirty
Start getting peace agreements. And if anyone shows their face to try and annoy you, beat the shit out of them. They will not attack the camp. Funnily enough, ogre camps, beyond obviously having free upkeep on their units right now, they do also have a ridiculously good auto-resolve benefit to them, even though they're horrible settlements to defend. Like, of all the settlements, or quote-unquote settlements to defend, ogre camps are genuinely the worst. This is, by the way, one of the things you should absolutely take advantage of. Greasus is on a caravan path. When you see caravans, here's what you do with them. Well, first you gotta greet them, right? But because even though you might be close enough to obviously see them,
Be assured. Agree.
that doesn't mean shit in terms of you meeting those factions diplomatically.
May your ancestors
But yeah, you just need to move close to them. Declare some wars. Get some money. Get paid. Pay. Get some peace agreements as well. That helps, doesn't it?
The celestial harmony is
Taking all the money of the minor Kafan faction. Look, if CA just wants to give the AI a lot of freaking free money, you can bet your ass that I'm gonna take advantage of all that. Who has that?
Perhaps we can work together to achieve great efficiency. Harmony.
The Center Lords. You're gonna, like, the River Lords and the Imperial Wardens are the biggest targets, but we're still waiting. Don't get me wrong on this one. We're still playing the waiting game, gents. We just want to take it nice and slow and casual. Get that camp to tier 3. You don't necessarily need to get any other buildings in it. At the moment, it would be nice to get maybe, you know, maybe. Be careful with this though, because they can bite you in the ass pretty freaking hard if you do spend all your food. For a number of reasons. Yeah, just take your time. You got it. What are we doing here? We're waiting for a vampire. I'm not joking. We are literally waiting for a freaking vampire. He takes his time. 2, 3, 4 turns, something along those lines. But he'll be there. Exactly where we want him. And what you need to understand, yep, there's your river lords, there's your mountains of cash as well, and it's not just the cash they give you, it's also the cash
Perhaps we can
that you get from the peace agreements you'll engineer with Nakai as well. We can get the bruiser up. I admit, I forgot about the bruiser, but that's not important.
Come on, fast. Oh, the tyrant knows best.
Anyhow, just merge some Noblars over here.
My ogres.
Because you see the thing that happens here. You almost certainly in every single Greasus campaign get the contract for Gnobly Gorge from the Skaven. You get contracts for neighbors that are at war with other factions. That's something you gotta take advantage of. Oh, but they're still at war with you. What you gonna do? What am I gonna do? I don't care. Really. That's the thing. You don't need to give a shit about some of these things.
I will force feed you to the tribes.
Oh, sometimes it might be nice to give a shit about some of these things, but not here. Not now. I also could have guaranteed the peace agreement with these guys had I fought those battles manually, but that's just the nature of the game. Yeah, literally a Noblar. The more faction strength you have, the easier it is to get certain diplomatic deals. Always remember that. But we're still waiting for Gorst. He'll be alive. He always does the same thing every single time. Modded on modded, he will always do this. I'm just waiting until he wakes up. There he is. So forget the dwarves, forget the other ogres. Why would you care? Go beat the shit out of course, that pays you better. And then go beat up Kugav. You get paid for this. Oh, you have a tricky battle, sure, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat that fucking situation. Or do you? You don't. So much for the Immortal Lich King, isn't it? It would have been better to fight this one manually, though, I'm not gonna lie. Because, yeah, they're certainly not gonna accept a peace agreement right there, right now. Until I start regenerating some of these casualties. Food problem solved, though. Oh, and the best part is, like, if I need to stop an enemy army that's approaching me, I can do so. That's a cutie little thing right there. That's how you play Greasus Gold too. And it just goes to show that even if you start a war with 3 different fucking factions that might want to really kill you, that even then ignoring them is potentially still the best choice. Because let me give you an idea of what's around here. You got this forest. This gives you Stonehorn and hero capacity for hunters. Now, the climate here sucks. I would probably sell, what I would do is take the Gnobly Gorge without a barracks in it, sell it to Xiao Ming, then sell the Hunted Forest for him with the barracks in it, get the Military Alliance, and get the Gnobly Gorge back. Also, fight and screw over this Skaven. Maybe you get even lucky if you constantly abandon contracts to get the second contract for the Gnobly Gorge. I believe it can happen. I'm fairly certain it has happened in my campaign several times over, even. I don't like focusing on unit buffs for ogres early on, because what they really are after are man-eaters in that situation. Yeah, camping. We be camping, boys. We be camping. That is it. Christine signing out. Stay tuned for more.